Welcome everyone, join us today as we pay tribute to Jeff St. John. Born with Spina Bifida, he defied the odds and broke barriers, becoming an Australian rock and soul icon through the 60s, 70s and beyond. So let's dive in. Jeff St. John, born Jeffrey Leo Newton on the 22nd of April 1946, in Newtown, New South Wales, Australia. Born the only child of linesman Leo and secretary Carmel, Jeff was raised in Sydney and attended Cleveland Street Boys High School in Surrey Hills, New South Wales. Diagnosed at birth with spina bifida, a condition affecting the spine and mobility, Jeff spent much of his youth wearing a caliper on his right leg and enduring numerous painful surgeries. But his determination to rise above it all was evident from an early age. With music as his driving force, Jeff pursued his passion with focus and resilience, supported by parents who filled their home with the sounds of all kinds of music. At just 8 years old, he made his public debut in a children's talent quest on Sydney's 2GB radio. By 15, he was appearing regularly on Channel 9's Opportunity Knocks, hosted by Desmond Tester, showcasing his talent from 1961 to 1963. A few years later, with his condition worsening and now relying heavily on crutches, Jeff had a chance meeting at the Sydney Musicians Club in early 1965 that would change everything. He connected with members of the Syndicate, a seasoned Sydney blues rock group featuring guitarist Peter Anson. The band, with Jeff now on vocals, gradually evolved, briefly becoming the Wild Oats, before settling on the name The Yid, inspired by the Wizard of Yid cartoon strip. It was also around this time that Jeff adopted the stage name he would carry for the rest of his life. With a bold brass-driven sound and Jeff's powerhouse vocals, Jeff St. John and the Yid quickly became a standout on the Sydney scene, securing a long-running residency at the Here Disco in North Sydney. They also found success in Melbourne, performing at the renowned Thumping Tum. Their growing reputation as one of Australia's premier R&B acts led to a coveted support slot on the high-profile 1967 national tour featuring the Yardbirds, Roy Orbison, and the Walker Brothers. Jeff and the band are perhaps best remembered for their fiery, brass-driven hit Big Time Operator, featuring renowned Aussie saxophonist Bob Birtles leading the horn section. Released in January 1967, the single hit number 7 in Sydney and number 12 in Melbourne, and its recording sessions at festival studios were even documented in a special feature for Go Set magazine. But the hit was the high point of a string of solid singles that had already established Jeff and the band as serious contenders. Their 1965 debut, Lindy Lou, was a pleasant slice of R&B that offered just a glimpse of the vocal power Jeff would later unleash. It came out on the Spin label, followed in early 1966 by The Jerk, and later that year by more gritty soul-infused releases, including a version of Leadbelly's Black Girl. Then came Big Time Operator, a breakout success that set high expectations. The group followed it with a full-length album of the same name in March 1967, plus a rare EP drawn from the LP, and a final single, You Got Me Humming, in April. The album showcased their dynamic, Stax, Atlantic-influenced live sound, but despite the momentum of their hit single, the LP didn't perform as well commercially as hoped. Then, quite suddenly, Jeff split from the Yid. While the band carried on, gigging at underground shows and psychedelic happenings organized by the Ubu Light Show and Film Collective, they also made headlines as the first Aussie pop act busted for cannabis. Ubu even staged a benefit concert for them in 1968. Jeff, meanwhile, moved on quickly, forming a new band called Yama, a name derived from Hindi, meaning mere mortals. The group featured seasoned players like Virgil East on bass, drummer Peter Figures, and guitarist Ross East, who would stay in Jeff's orbit for years to come. Although promising, Yama was short-lived, disbanding by mid-1968 after releasing a single upbeat, progressive soul track for Spin called Nothing Comes Easy, written by Jeff and Figures. Not long after, Jeff underwent a series of complex high-risk surgeries intended to address long-standing health issues. Sadly, the procedures didn't deliver the results doctors had hoped for, and Jeff found himself confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. After 3 difficult months of failed skin grafts and overhearing a grim prognosis that it would probably turn cancerous and kill him, he decided to discharge himself, still using crutches at the time. It wasn't until 1970 that a turning point came. Jeff was introduced to Mr. John Hanrahan, a surgeon who had just brought a revolutionary new technique from the US called the rotation flap. This innovative method radically improved the treatment of severe pressure sores. Jeff later said, "To him I owe my life." After a long period of recovery, Jeff made a triumphant return to the stage, embracing his new condition with flair. Turning adversity into theatre, he used his wheelchair as part of his performance, spinning and doing wheelies as he sang. "With crutches your hands are always full," he explained. "The wheelchair allowed me to move around on stage and be self-sufficient." In early 1969, he unveiled his new band, Copperwine, starting with low-key gigs in Perth before returning to Sydney. The group quickly gained a passionate following in the city's growing underground music scene. Guitarist Ross East, a key collaborator, even declined an invitation to join the revamped Masters Apprentices to continue working with Jeff. Backed by East, drummer Peter Figgers, bassist Alan Ingram, and keyboardist Barry Kelly, Jeff and Copperwine delivered a knockout set at the Arumbar Pilgrimage for Pop, Australia's first major outdoor rock festival, held in January 1970. Their electrifying blend of original progressive rock and powerhouse covers, including Sing a Simple Song by Sly and the Family Stone, Cloud 9 by The Temptations, and Blind Faith's Can't Find My Way Home, left a lasting impression. That same year, their impressive live repertoire was captured on tape by producer Pat Alton for the album Joint Effort, a musically ambitious and critically praised LP that showcased Jeff's incredible range and the band's tight, soulful edge. Though the album and its lead single, Cloud 9, didn't achieve commercial success, they remain landmark recordings. A follow-up EP, Sing a Simple Song, featuring 4 tracks from the album, was released in May 1970. In retrospect, Joint Effort stands as a testament to several key truths. It became one of Festival Records' most consistent sellers over the years. It's a valuable snapshot of the creative pulse of Oz rock during a particularly vibrant era, and it offers undeniable proof that Jeff was one of the finest rock vocalists Australia has ever produced. The album also highlights just how talented Copperwine was, particularly guitarist Ross East and keyboardist Barry Kelly, reflecting the wealth of musical talent scattered across the Australian scene at the time. Among the original tracks penned by the band are the introspective Fanciful Flights, the jazzy instrumental Any Orange Night, and the ensemble-driven You Don't Have to Listen. But it's the thunderous opening cover of The Temptations' Cloud 9, powered by a surging organ and Jeff's soaring vocals, that sets the tone, outshining even the original in sheer soul and intensity. Another highlight came in November 1970, when Copperwine released a strikingly smooth, organ-heavy version of Rotary Connection's Teach Me How to Fly. Featuring a blistering guitar solo from East and tight rhythmic work from the rhythm section, the single soared to number 3 in Sydney and number 12 in Melbourne, thanks in large part to Jeff's electrifying vocal delivery. An insane touring schedule, as Jeff later described it, kept the band in motion through 1970 to 71, with frequent shows across the eastern states. In May 1970, powerhouse soul blues singer Wendy Saddington joined Copperwine as co-lead vocalist. Though she never recorded a studio single with Jeff, she appeared on the band's laid-back bluesy live album Wendy Saddington and Copperwine Live, recorded at the Wallacia Rock Festival in January 1971. By then, Harry Bruce had taken over bass duties from Alan Ingram. Plans to reissue the Saddington Live album on CD as part of Festival's archival project were sadly scrapped following the acquisition of Mushroom Records. With Festival's financial collapse in 2005, the label was shuttered, and its vast catalogue, including Copperwine's legacy, was sold to Warner Music, ending a significant chapter in Australian music history. Although Wendy Saddington left Copperwine by February 1971, the band, with Jeff at the helm, continued to tour hard. A major highlight that year was their appearance in the Hoadley's Battle of the Sounds, where they delivered a powerhouse version of Leon Russell's Hummingbird. Despite Jeff being in top form, they placed third behind Fraternity and Sherbet. Hummingbird, backed with Derek and the Dominoes' Keep on Growing, was released as a single in August on Festival's new Infinity label, earning moderate success. Around this time, Glyn Mason joined the group, and they performed at the Mulwala Festival in April 1972. Not long after, Jeff left the band, but Copperwine carried on for a while with Mason on vocals, before he too moved on. Seeking a fresh outlet for his songwriting and singing, Jeff formed the Jeff St. John Band with drummer Peter Figgers and the late keyboardist Tony Ansell. In October 1972, he released his first solo single, Yesterday's Music, and toured extensively, supporting the likes of Gary Glitter, Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. That same year saw the release of the Best of Jeff St. John, and Jeff was named Most Outstanding Vocalist of the Year. In 1973, Jeff moved to the UK to explore bigger opportunities. His farewell show at the Sydney Opera House featured his band and guest appearances from Vince Maloney, John A. Bird and Ace Follington. A live album from the concert, Jeff St. John Live, was released in May 1974 while Jeff played local gigs in London. He returned home that August and formed Red Cloud, releasing the single Mr. James in May 1975. Though the single had limited success, it was followed by Blood Brother in October. Jeff and Red Cloud toured heavily through 1975 to 76, maintaining Jeff's strong presence on the live circuit. In 1977, Jeff became the first Australian act to sign with the US label Asylum Records and hit the national top 10 with a searing version of Fool in Love. He continued recording and performing into the early 1980s, but in 1983 at 37, Jeff announced his retirement. His final TV appearance on Donnie Sutherland's After Dark revealed he was going through a difficult time. In 1984, with the support of Dr. John Yeo of the Royal North Shore Spinal Unit, Jeff began lecturing in schools and helping develop educational and media resources about disability awareness. In the late 1990s, Jeff relocated to Perth, and in 1999, drummer Ace Follington talked him into singing at Clancy's Fish Pub in Fremantle. That night reignited Jeff's love for music. "I'd been away from it so long, I'd forgotten how fun it was," he said. It led to regular gigs, a new band, Jeffrey St. John and the Embers, and the 2001 release of Will the Real Jeff St. John Please Stand Up, a swinging tribute to 1930s and 40s music with a rock twist. In 2000, Jeff received the highest honor of his career, performing the opening songs at the Sydney Paralympic Games before 110,000 people and a global audience of 4 billion. "Best Paralympics ever," he said proudly. "I love my country, it's let me be crazy for more years than I can remember." Jeff was later appointed patron of Mosaic Family and Community Services, helping support people with disabilities, especially those facing unfair treatment in the legal system, cementing his place not just as a music legend, but as a passionate advocate for change. In 2015, Jeff's autobiography, The Jeff St. John Story, The Inside Outsider, edited by James Anfuso, was published by Starman Books. On a personal note, Jeff was married twice. His first marriage was to 21-year-old stenographer Pam Bailey on the 14th of September 1967 at the Wayside Chapel in King's Cross, and together they had a daughter. His second marriage to Marilyn lasted until his passing. Sadly, on the morning of the 6th of March 2018, at Fiona Stanley Hospital in Perth, Western Australia, Jeff passed away. His death was caused by a bacterial infection following surgery. And there you have it. Though Jeff St. John is no longer with us, his voice, courage, and spirit continue to resonate. He challenged expectations, broke down barriers, and left behind a legacy far greater than music alone. A remarkable life, and a story worth remembering. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.